I'm Peter Block here in New Orleans at ACC.11, and with me is Steve Freems from the University of Toronto. Steve has just dealt with the RAPS trial, so the radial artery trial in coronary artery bypass graft surgery.
That's right.
An issue that's been sort of an interesting one over the years. People have had, yes, it's a great idea, and then no, it's not such a great idea. What did the RAPS trial do, and then what did it show us, Steve?
Yeah. So the RAPS trial was a multi-center study based in Canada. We initially recruited 561 patients. The study design was unique in that the randomization was within rather than between patients. One study assignment was a radial artery to the right coronary and vein graft to the circumflex territory. The other assignment was the opposite. So every patient had both study grafts. We had one-year results, which we reported in 2004, and we're now reporting our 7.5-year results.
Okay, so the free radial artery graft always had a little bit of a bad rap, so tell me what the results are. Did it come out on top or not?
It came out on top, and the results were positive for our primary endpoint, which we defined as functional graft occlusion. TIMI 3 flow was considered patent, TIMI 012 flow was considered occluded. And the occlusion rate was approximately 19% in vein grafts versus 12% in radials. That was positive at the 0.05 level. We had secondary endpoint of graft occlusion, which was complete graft occlusion, which was more strongly in favor of the radial artery, 18% versus 9%.
So give or take, somewhere in the range of 7 to 10% difference between the two.
Absolutely.
And when I looked at the data, I was struck by most of the graft occlusions were in the center of the graft, in the body of the graft, whereas the radials didn't seem to have so much of that. How did you choose the radial arteries that you used? How were patients chosen in this one?
So patients were undergoing a largely elective coronary surgery. They had triple vessel coronary disease, preserved ventricular function. Most of them had preserved renal function because it was an angiographic trial. We did screen them for the availability or the ability to use both the saphenous vein and radial artery. Patients who had varicose veins or varicose vein stripping were excluded. For radial patients, if they had a questionable Allen's test, they had ultrasound of their upper extremity to screen for the usability of the radial artery.
So were there a lot of patients that did not qualify because of the radial artery not being good, or is that not an issue?
Well, in our one-year results, we did report specifically on the reasons for protocol violation, which meant one or both study grafts could not be used, and crossovers, which meant they got both study grafts, but they went to the opposite territory. And some issue with the radial artery length or quality did exclude patients, more so than non-usable saphenous vein.
But in general, it sounds to me like the RAPS trial is indeed quite positive, and maybe the radial artery at the long term is a pretty good conduit.
I agree. I think the results are confirmatory.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks very much.